Hey everyone, welcome back. This time I'm gonna do a review of Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I watched it with the commentary, if anybody's wondering, which I'm pretty sure nobody isn't. But I figured, well, since I have the DVD and that there is a feature for the commentary, I might as well check it out. And the commentary wasn't that bad. Like, it wasn't all that informative because we all now know all the stuff that went on with this film. Um, I'm not gonna go all into the plot or anything, but I will mention some of the deaths in this, even though most of the deaths are off screen. And they're not really deaths at all, they're more just reasons for the clowns to be there. Um, Is this my favorite Killer Clown movie? No, but it is one from my childhood, and it's got a lot of fun stuff in it. It's very imaginative. I really enjoyed the imagination in this film. And that's a lot of stuff horror films or comedy films uh, are missing. They're missing imagination. Stitches, that had a lot of imagination in their kills, and people give Stitches shit, and they praise Stephen King's It. They're like, oh, that was the first real great Killer Clown flick. Check this film out. I think this was the first real great Killer Clown flick. Um, Stephen King's It is probably my favorite. But this has way more gore. Like, for a PG-13, you get some gore in this. Like, you get melted skin in a cotton candy cocoon. You get a head being knocked off. Practical effects. I loved it. You get to see an officer. You don't see the back, but you get the idea. So it's kind of those effects where you're like, ew. So you don't actually see the gore, but you get what's going on in your head. The clown puts his hand into the person's back and uses him as a ventriloquist dummy. Um, I'll go into a little bit of the plot for those who don't know what the hell this movie is about. It stars Grant Kramer as Mike Tobacco. Yeah. Funny name. Suzanne Snyder, who I keep on wanting to call her Suzanne Summer. Two completely different people. She plays Debbie, and there's also a cop played by somebody named John Allen Nelson. He does an alright job. Like, the acting in this isn't all that great, but it's not terrible. Like, if you want to see terrible, watch the movie Sick. S.I.C.K. That is a piece of shit. And John Vernon as Officer Mooney. You love to hate this character. And even ICP, they do some songs with bits and pieces from this movie. Like, the song The Staleness has John Vernon going like, Killer Clowns! And they take out the From Outer Space part, but then they say, Killer Clowns! Holy shit. But it starts off with a scene right after that line. He's talking on the phone and he's like, Killer Clowns. Now they're at your front door. And then the song begins. The Staleness is a really good song. For those who have never heard the song, and even if you don't like ICP, you should at least listen to that song. I think even not fans of ICP might enjoy that song. And House of Horrors, I think, uh, it's either that song or one of their other songs where uh, there's a line. It's done by a different person, you can totally tell, but it's the same line from this movie. It goes like, "What kind of circus is this?" And set exactly like that, but you can tell it's a different person. What do I give this? Well, wait till the end of this review because this might be a little bit of a long one. I might as well start off with my first experiences with this film. I was 8 years old and I wanted like a killer clown flick that was just over the top, funny, kind of creepy, kind of gory. Back then I wasn't into as much gore as I am now, but I wanted something different. And I was really into 80s stuff. And the only movie I knew of was It. And that didn't have a whole lot of gore. It wasn't over the top. It was darkly humorous, but not to like the extent of this movie. So my cousin brought in this tape of horror movies. He recorded 2 movies on most of the VHSs he had, and this one had Wes Craven's New Nightmare and Killer Klowns from Outer Space. This was back when videotapes held a lot more than they do now. So, yeah. The first film was Killer Klowns from Outer Space, and the second film was Wes Craven's New Nightmare. I didn't watch Wes Craven's New Nightmare until way later on. So, we watched Killer Klowns from Outer Space. He recorded it from TV, I think. On one of the channels that let you get away with swearing a lot. And there's not too many swear words in this. The most used here is shit, and that's it. So, they get away with saying that. And he made it to where the commercials weren't in it, thankfully. He's an easy way to do it. Everybody knows already if you record from the TV. Just press stop, and then when the show resumes, press play. Well, record. So anyways, enough of that. I'm just sitting there watching it and getting a couple chuckles here and there. And then the scene pops up of a comet just whizzing by. And back when I was a little kid, I was like, oh man, that's a cool effect. Nowadays, people are like, not all that. But for that time, when you're a little 6-year-old kid watching a film like this, you're like, oh man, those effects are cool. And I was always into sci-fi at a young age, and to me, this felt like a science fiction horror comedy. It worked well on all 3 regards. Because it made me laugh. It made me grossed out a little bit. It made me go, ew. And it made me go like, man, this is actually really creative. And sci-fi is really creative stuff. So, fast forward 14 years later, now a full-grown adult, watching this movie again for the first time in a while. I watched it on demand a year or so back, and I remember having fun with it. And this film is, it still holds up today. It's great. It's got a lot of imagination to it. And now I'm gonna get into the commentary. The commentary doesn't really reveal a whole lot because nowadays we all know what it's about. And does anybody know if the Kyoto brothers are from New York? Because they have a really strong New York accent. 3 brothers work on this film. They didn't expect to do a whole lot. This was made on a $2 million budget. And it made... Hold on, I'm going to pull up IMDb. This might take a while, but while that's happening, I might as well talk about the stop motion they did. They tried to do stop motion, but what they went with is the Godzilla technique, as they call it. Man in a rubber suit doing miniatures. And I think that's a cool thing to do. It's easy, it's fast, and it works. It works way better than CGI. Now, I think there is a little bit of CGI in this, but it doesn't really matter because it just adds to the cheese factor. And I don't like a whole lot of movies that are really cheesy. The cheesiest movies I think I own are the Killjoy films. Those are definitely cheesy, but they're good. If you want to hear my thoughts on those, just check my reviews for them, Psychopath1c reviews Killjoy, and you'll find them. But is this better than Killjoy? It all depends on how you look at it. Comedy-wise, definitely better. Gore-wise, not as much, because the Killjoy movies are pretty gory. To some extent, like, low-budget-wise, they definitely get their job done. So, anyways, let me pull up IMDb. Hopefully IMDb doesn't lie this time around. Okay, sorry you get to see my ugly face up close and personal. I'm just trying to find the right page. Stupid internet. Ah, here we are. Let me pull it up. Killer Klowns from Outer Space. I like this cover, by the way. Absolutely Sublime didn't really care a whole lot for this cover. He said it looked too Leatherface looking. He said it looked more like a serious slasher, which it does. So this cover might be a little bit misleading because for those who have never heard of this film, which I'm pretty sure anybody between the ages of 13 and 45 know about this film. So yeah. Anyways, since I'm on IMDb now, Killer Klowns from Outer Space. There is apparently a sequel in the works, but I don't believe it's gonna happen. Just because Hollywood, I think, would murder it. Like, they either want it to be rated R and have tons of gore, or have it be like a really, really weak PG-13, like have no cursing at all. have really unlikable characters. Like, I liked the characters in this film. And I'd say they're not the most likable characters, but they get the job done. Hell, for a $2 million budget, you can't complain. But for what they had with $2 million, they did a hell of a lot. Sorry about my voice. Like I said, I have a sore throat. And if IMDb will even let me load the damn, you know what, IMDb is being a bullshitter today. Well, this morning, so, yeah. I guess I'm not going to be able to look up the budget. Well, the budget is $2 million, but I think it made $15 million in the U.S. alone, and $28 million worldwide. I could be wrong, but like I said, IMDb does not want to load. So, yeah. Anyways, this film, I'd consider it a classic. I don't know what else to say. This film has been part of my childhood. Way before Killjoy, Stitches, 100 Tears. Before there were those films, there was this and Stephen King's It. And to see the killer clown genre, the subgenre, kind of desensitize itself with violence. Like, I know it's a horror movie, you're supposed to be violent in a horror movie, but it's just more about gore now. Don't get me wrong, I love gore. I'll always love gore, but it's becoming more about the gore instead of about the fun. Like, gore is fun, but this movie was fun without it being too gory. Like, it had atmosphere, and it just had a really funny villain. Like, the villain being aliens that look like clowns. And what more could you ask for with an 80s flick? And how are you supposed to take a name like this seriously? Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Really? Are you going to try and tell me that that is a serious title for a horror movie? No. If you're saying that, just think about what you're saying and just check out the movie. Tell me your thoughts on it, and then if you still think that it sounds like a serious title for a horror movie, make your own version and get back to me. But I'll probably give this, because I have so much fun with it, a 10 out of 10. I find nothing wrong with it other than the acting. The acting is not below average, it's actually average. But I didn't go into this movie expecting good actors. Like, even back when I was little, I didn't go into movies for award-winning acting. I went into it for fun. And this movie was definitely fun. So, 10 out of 10. For those who have not seen this classic cheezefest, funny, great movie to watch during Halloween, check this movie out. Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Go in it for the fun. Don't go in it for, like, award-winning acting, top-notch gore, balls-to-the-wall violence. Go into it for the fun. Because at the end of the day, if a movie's fun and it entertained you, then it did its job right. And this is a movie that did its job right. So, Killer Klowns from Outer Space, 10 out of 10 for me. Some people are gonna be like, oh, that sucks. The movie sucks. It all depends on the person. Like, don't take my ratings to heart. Like, even though it's my opinion of a movie, like, I feel happy to share my opinion. Like, I'm not telling you to take my ratings. I'm just saying, take my words of wisdom about horror movies. Like, either you'll love them or you'll hate them, or you'll like them or dislike them. A lot of my friends like the same stuff I like, especially when it comes to horror movies. And all my friends have said such great things to me whenever they see the movie, and they're just like, "Oh yeah, I love that movie. It's cheesy, but it's a fun ride." And come on, are you really going to say that face is scary? Come on, man. This film is great. I give it, like I said, 10 out of 10. If I went any higher, I'd probably give it like 12. But have fun with it. You can get it for $5 down at Kmart. It's well worth it. So, anyways, Psychopath1c signing off. I'll be back later with another review, probably on another great cheezefest, Gutterballs. Now, it's hard to choose which one is better. They're both great. Now, this one has some major problems, and I'll get to it when I review it. But, anyways, take care. I'm out.